that the Dusclops could be setting up as well. But with that adaptability, we've seen how strong something like Porygon Z can be with its adaptability boost. Dragalge not going to be quite as strong, but still going to be really packing a punch thanks to that adaptability boost, and also having the benefit of going for the max form, the Dynamax, being able to stop the drops from anything like a Draco Meteor as well, being able to boost up its special attack with the max oozes coming out from the Dragalge as well. So it's going to be really exciting. I really hope that Jonathan brings that Dragalge to this match.
Yeah, and something that I don't think we've seen that. I actually remember talking about this at Worlds last year when they revealed it, is the room service over on Torkoal. So really going all in on the Trick Room. I think a lot of players have been kind of looking around and saying, maybe there's better Trick Room setups for Dusclops. So it's funny to see T-Cells really reversing back to it. As you mentioned, we're looking at it from Luke's side on this space. So Dusclops and Togekiss are really lead for him, matching up against Togekiss and Gyarados on Golden's side. So no Trick Room for Jonathan, even though he's got some Pokemon that really like to capitalize on it, such as the Dragalge. But I think if Lucas wants Trick Room, he can have it right now.
Yeah, it's this classic redirection plus Trick Room setter. It's very free Trick Room if Lucas wants to go for that. And staring down a Gyarados, that is most likely what he would want to be going for. The Gyarados, most known for going for those Airstreams to boost up its speed, and this would be very detrimental in the Trick Room. But then Jonathan still does have Pokemon that do want to be playing in the Trick Room, but instead we're going to not be seeing any Trick Rooms this turn. Dusclops is just going to be helping out that Togekiss.
Yeah, Gyarados known to carry Taunt, and I think Lucas playing very smartly about that, allowing himself to move at least do something before he's caught with the Taunt. Dazzling Gleam, after the helping hand, a good chunk onto both. Not the hugest amount of damage, but at least better than absolutely nothing. As Togekiss yawns the opposing Togekiss, so Lucas has one more turn before he falls asleep. But now, his options are certainly limited. His Dusclops probably not able to do very much in this turn.
Yeah, and would have to switch out the Togekiss if he wants to stop it from going to sleep. So quite a passive turn coming out from Jonathan on this first turn, but a really effective one. No Trick Room coming out from the Dusclops on the first turn. The redirection with Follow Me and the Trick Room would have allowed that setup to go off. The Togekiss would have redirected the Taunt, but instead, going for on the offensive with the Dazzling Gleam instead means that the Dusclops is now taunted and is very limited in its options, and the Togekiss does not want to go to sleep by that dawn.
Yep, doesn't want to stay in while that's happening and just decides to switch out for the Torkoal. The Drought's going to come into play, that'll help out with water move from the Gyarados, including this Waterfall. So Torkoal in the sun, taking that pretty comfortably overall. Togekiss follows up with an Air Slash, knowing there's going to be a switch on that side, not worried about the Dusclops. Torkoal down below half. Dusclops does what it can, fires back with the Nightshade, brings that Gyarados pretty low, actually, maybe in range for a knockout with a follow-up one. But Torkoal switch in there really not the most pleasant.
Yeah, and it was either switch in the Torkoal and take all that damage, or just let your Togekiss go to sleep. And now this Torkoal is really weakened. If it has that eruption, it will be doing a lot less damage here. And there's no Trick Room coming out from the Dusclops. It is able to do some nice damage with the Nightshade to the Gyarados, and most likely going to put that in range of a Nightshade there. But yeah, the Torkoal is still going to be threatened down. We saw how much that Air Slash did to the Torkoal. Probably going to be in range for another one, and that's probably why it wants to switch out here.
Yeah, not a too bad side, as I say that Gyarados is in danger, but I like the Jonathan left. Take this pretty well. He does decide to go after it this time. Don't forget the Sun still up for the Waterfall, and that is effective. The Air Slash follow-up into that Togekiss, getting a little bit of damage down on either Pokemon. And then we're going to get the Nightshade. There it is. So, this is now the offensive Dusclops, with it picking up the first knockout of the game.
Yeah, being able to help out the Togekiss with the Dazzling Gleam damage, and then firing off two Nightshades, able to take out the Gyarados. And yeah, that was one of the heavy hitters on Jonathan's side taken care of. Not opting to Dynamax the Gyarados, which is what we see very often, but instead preserving that Dynamax for a Pokemon in the back. Yeah, the Togekiss, have seen that it does have access to that Yawn, so it could be yawning another one of its Pokemon in this next turn. And Dragalge is going to be the Pokemon of choice for Jonathan, and is really going to be threatening down that Togekiss with those Poison-type moves that are boosted by that adaptability. And not going to be threatening down the Dusclops too much. It should still be taunted for another turn, so it won't be going for the Trick Room this turn. But yeah, the Dragalge, because Jonathan was able to preserve his Dynamax, he could go for the Dynamax on the Dragalge this turn. And if you wanted to fire off a Poison type move into that Togekiss, it would be increasing the special attack of the Dragalge by 1 stage as well, making it even more threatening. So that looks like what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, the Dragalge also kind of, I don't want to say threatens to pick one, because if it goes up, then it's in a great position. It's not a fast Pokemon. As you mentioned though, it doesn't hurt, get a nice big boost to its health pool there, and now it's really on the Dragalge to try and get some of that pressure back. The Togekiss on Jonathan's side doesn't yawn, just to take a helping hand. Togekiss fires off a dazzling gleam, looking to hit on the opposing Togekiss, bringing it nice and low, but not too much down on that side. Togekiss just going to get rid of Matsu's troubles. No real question there. I don't think anyone's been too worried about poison type attacks for a while. And the special attack goes up as well. So this Dragalge in a really good position now.
Yeah, and it's going to take a very tiny amount of chip from the Nightshade as well. And showing the massive special bulk from the Dragalge as well, from the Togekiss, not doing too much damage at all with that Dazzling Gleam. Venusaur is going to be the Pokemon of choice for Lukas here, and most likely going to be the Pokemon he is going to be Dynamaxing as well. Also having the option of boosting its special attack with that Max Ooze. The Togekiss being very low would most likely be in range of that Ooze as well. And also threatening down with the Sleep Powders onto the Dragalge if the Venusaur wanted to go for that. But the Togekiss did get frisks on the first time. We did see the safety rolls on that Togekiss. So it would be a very unsafe Sleep Powder if the Venusaur wants to go for that. If you want to expect the Togekiss not to click that follow me button instead. Maybe go for another helping hand to boost the power of the Dragalge, or go on the offense with the Air Slash as well. But yeah, most likely going to be seeing a Dynamax coming out from this Venusaur. Whether it wants to go for the special attack boost with the Ooze, whether it wants to set up that Vine Lash on the field with its new G-Max move, or maybe even boost the special defense with a Max Quake, because we are going to be seeing that Dynamax coming out. But a Max Quake here into the Dragalge would also be as unsafe as that Sleep Powder would have been.
Yep, well we'll see exactly what it's like to go for. Really Gigantamax a new toy. A number of players gravitating towards it as something they're enjoying as part of their team, especially while the Sun Attack does stop. Is free of its taunt, is able to helping hand once again. That means that the Togekiss follow me gets to activate, no issue here, and if Lukas has taken the bait, this turn can get really nasty. Venusaur's Max Quake does head towards that slot, and of course Togekiss not concerned about it at all. Poor Venusaur struggles to get Wormwind from the Dragalge. That's a whole lot of damage going down on a Pokemon that's usually known for being particularly bulky, and now I think, you know, Lukas really not getting what he wanted out of that turn.
Yeah, incredibly risky going for a ground move in front of a Togekiss that could just redirect that. And yeah, putting Jonathan in a very commanding position. Seeing how strong that Dragalge can get if it is boosting its special attack with the Max Ooze, and the Venusaur is feeling very threatened here.
Yeah, Venusaur playing it safe with the classic there. The Max Guard doesn't want to get any damage caught, and just trying to stall out that last turn of Dragalge's Dynamax itself. The Max Wellman will go towards the Max Guard, and Dusclops gets to attack with a Nightshade. Let's see if it can remove the threat of that Togekiss from the field. It's not quite enough though, and the Harsh Sunlight fades as well, so that's going to be out a little bit. Of course, the Torkoal's still around in the back, and Dragalge's Dynamax is over, so it's really on Lukas now to capitalize on his last turn of this Gigantamax right now.
Yeah, and the Togekiss still being around after that Nightshade means that the Togekiss will be around for one more redirection. The Venusaur, if it wants to go for a Vine Lash, it will be able to set that up on the field with that Togekiss being so low. Whether it wants to boost itself with the Max Ooze as well, but the Togekiss just being able to redirect one more time, the Dragalge would be able to fire off another move into the Venusaur. If that's going to be that direct move, it will be more than enough, and instead it's not going to be attacking that Venusaur at all, as it's going to be switching out even from its Dynamax form.
Yeah, it's a big move and a big play to give up the final turn of your Gigantamax. Torkoal does reset the Sun though with Drought, could be very key to a late game win condition for Lukas here. Togekiss keeps going with the follow me's, even though it's super low, it just wants Dragalge to do a little bit more work. Dragalge's Sludge Bomb heads towards that Torkoal, so it's leaving the field almost as quickly as it entered. It will bring just the last two. But most importantly, it's set the Sun up for the Venusaur, and I think that's going to be absolutely key. As the Nightshade obviously heading towards that Togekiss after the follow me does take it out. but that means we're going to be in a pretty clear 2v2. That said, there's a lot of damage already down on a couple of Pokemon, particularly the Venusaur, and it's only taking Urshifu from Jonathan.
Yeah, and it's going to be that single strike variety as well, so could have access to something like a Sucker Punch, and the Venusaur being so low would most likely be in range of that attack. Could go for a Sleep Powder to bypass the potential of the Sucker Punch, but then you are playing about with that shaky accuracy, and also doing no offensive damage with the Venusaur, but no Sucker Punches, and there is a Sleep Powder connecting with that Dragouti.
Yeah, I think that's Lucas seeing that's his win condition for this one. Urshifu will be creeping with though, does fly off the Gifted Blow, it's a signature move, and that's enough to knock out the Venusaur. Pretty good there as well. People really liking Urshifu and the amount of damage it does. That does mean though that just Dusclops is left on the field, and if you're trying to tidy up a game with your Dusclops, you're going to struggle. You've got a lot of turns to go through.
Yeah, and Urshifu is one of the most threatening Pokemon to this Dusclops as well. With that Wicked Blow, being able to always land that critical hit would be a very, very big hit on this Dusclops. And it looks like Lucas is going to be forfeiting that first game.
Yeah, I think there's nothing he can do about that one. Just has to move on and try and learn something for the next games. I like the way his team came together, but I think there's some kind of mismatch between, you know, the Torkoal with the room policy to room service, my apologies, to try and help out with the Trick Room, but then also the Venusaur to capitalize off Chlorophyll, right? You can't really have both, and I think that was something that he kind of struggled with a little bit in that game.
Yeah, and if you're bringing Dusclops into a match, you often want to be going for that Trick Room. And the Dusclops did get taunted turn 1, so that wasn't an option for the first few turns, but it sat on the field the entirety of the match, just firing off Helping Hands and Nightshades. Just doing a little bit of chip damage here and there with those Nightshades and increasing the damage with the Helping Hands, but it really wasn't threatening too much against Jonathan. So he was almost playing a 2v1 most of the match because the Dusclops wasn't really threatening too much. When it went for the Helping Hands, the Togekiss was able to do a bit more damage with its Dazzling Gleam, but then he got stuck with that Yawn and Taunt play that was really, really effective for Jonathan in the first turn. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Lucas opt for a different Pokemon, veer away from that Dusclops. Could still bring that the Torkoal, even if he wouldn't be setting up Trick Room with the Dusclops, because that Venusaur loves to be in that sun with its Chlorophyll ability. So he could definitely be bringing that Torkoal, even if he has no intention of setting up Trick Room.
Yeah, maybe he just wants the sun, and that's all it did in game number 1, right? It came in, took damage, left, came in, took damage, got knocked out. I mean, it's not the maximum value you want to get from a Torkoal, but it tried. It did exactly what it needed to do, and, you know, if Sleep Powder maybe it, you know, targeted a little bit differently or started firing off a little bit earlier, could have been in a better position there. So we'll see if this changes from Lucas. I think, you know, Jonathan played it very, very well. I really like the Gyarados selection there. It's something that we've not seen as much since we kind of moved on a little bit from the early days of VGC 2020, and I like the fact that she's got Taunt to say no Dusclops, I'm not letting you play the game.
Yeah, it was really effective in shutting down that Dusclops. And it's interesting not seeing the Gyarados go for the turn 1 Dynamax. We see that so often when people lead with their Gyarados, but instead going a much more passive turn with the Taunt and the Yawn, but really effective. But no Gyarados coming out here for Jonathan. Instead going to be swapping to that Dusclops instead, and a complete shake-up from Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, Togekiss and Tyranitar, I like it. It's a little more offensive than the Togekiss and Dusclops that we saw in the previous turn. Of course, he does get to learn about the items with the Frisk. Confirmation on the Scope Lamp, and he now knows about the Focus Sash as well, which I think is probably one of the key items you want to get off Frisk, right, is knowing where that is, even if you can pretty much get there from Team Preview. It's just nice to have that confirmation, a little confidence in making sure you double target things.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing both players switch up. The Dusclops is now on Jonathan's side, and the more offensive Pokemon is on Lucas's, and the Tyranitar is threatening down both the Togekiss and the Dusclops with both of its same type attack bonus moves.
Yep, well, Togekiss on Jonathan's side just decided to follow me. Wanted to try and keep the Dusclops around for a little bit. There's the Dazzling Gleam, critical hit on the Dusclops. Tyranitar though doesn't fall for the follow me, so it's completely wasted by 2 Shred moves, as he does land big damage on the Togekiss and a good chunk onto Dusclops. If that doesn't matter though, it does set up the Trick Room there. So really, probably if you were writing a book on the oldest tricks in the book for VGC, follow me and redirection. Follow me. Trick Room and Redirection would probably be up there. And that's, it working perfectly. Even if your opponent has a response in 2 spread moves, they're not enough damage. And Jonathan gets to set up Trick Room early doors.
Yeah, this is the turn we could have seen come out from Lukas in the first game. Could have redirected and set up that Trick Room so that the Dusclops couldn't be moving first here, and is going to be moving first with that Pain Split into the Tyranitar.
Yes, Tyranitar getting some good bit of damage from Pain Split. Air slash landing on the opposing Togekiss, so Jonathan, even with 2 not very effective Pokemon on the field, just trying to get as much damage down as possible. For his troubles though, he's going to take a Rock Slide and use Togekiss, so that'll be leaving the field, allowing him to get in a Pokemon that can face a little bit better. If a Togekiss does flinch from that previous Air Slash, so Dusclops still on the field feeling pretty healthy.
Yeah, and now Jonathan will be able to bring in one of his Trick Room sweepers. It is going to be that Gaugy, which very much likes to be in Trick Room. As we saw before, could be really threatening if it goes for even a singular Ooze, which would be knocking out the Togekiss here, increasing the special attack of the Gaugy, making it even more threatening. So, interesting, completely switching up his strategy for Jonathan here. He was able to make use of the Gaugy outside of the Trick Room, but now it is going to be in that Trick Room, and really threatening, especially with the Dynamax.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect setup for Dragouti, right? It's got Trick Room out, it's got Pokemon active, and also caused a little bit of trouble. And it's in front of a Togekiss, which means it can max use and get out there. Maybe let it. It's not too threatened by the Tyranitar either, so we'll see exactly how much it can do. There's going to be a Follow Me from Togekiss, very, very wise. Try and keep something off that Tyranitar before the turn. Dusclops, though, will bulldoze. Just seeing what it can do with regards to speed. See if there's any fun interactions here that we need to be worried about. There it is. Had to wait a moment for it to go off. But Weakness Policy activates on the Dragouti. That's a classic, activating on the Bulldozer, a real commonplace one this year. He does drop his opponent's speed in the Trick Room, not always what you want to do, but the Dragouti instead. And the Maxi connects on Togekiss. No shots there.
Yeah, and the Frisk being really useful for Jonathan here, finding out the Focus Sash on the Tyranitar, meaning that the Bulldoze was very safe. He didn't have to worry about a Weakness Policy coming out from the Tyranitar instead, and this Lash Out is still going to be doing a lot of damage to the Gaugy. If there would have been a Weakness Policy, it would have probably picked up the knockout there. That is a very nice chunk, and it's showing the interaction of that new move in Lash Out. The Bulldoze did drop the speed of the Tyranitar, which is a stat reduction, which did double the power of that Lash Out, and really doing a huge amount of damage to that Gaugy. Lukas did end up bringing his Dusclops. He just left it in the back instead, and yeah, that was a huge amount of damage to the Gaugy. It's still going to be thrusting down the Tyranitar with something like a Wormwind, and we saw before the Dusclops not doing too much damage with its Nightshades. If it wants to try and help out the Tyranitar with a helping hand, it most likely be able to pick up the knockout with a move that the Tyranitar wants to go for, but the Gaugy now being even slower with that Bulldoze could potentially even underspeed the Dusclops on Lucas's side, depending on how both of the Pokemon are trained because of that speed drop. And yeah, the Gaugy just really has a completely free Wormwind into either slot it wants to go for, whether it wants to just really take a huge chunk out of that Dusclops or probably pick up the knockout on that Tyranitar.
Here we go, Dusclops firing around Nightshades to start the turn. Both of them just exchanging those, one onto the Dusclops, one onto the Gaugy, and Maxi Lightning onto the Dusclops. Not all of them are carrying. There is going to be a little bit of damage remaining, but of course the Sandstorm is in play. Tyranitar, though, doesn't take any drops, does get to Lash Out, and doesn't need him, just manages to land the knockout. Finding a way, maybe Jonathan thinking it was going to be Protect on the Tyranitar, but no, he does make a move that's a little bit safer, and the Tyranitar been on the field since turn 1 is starting to pick up knockout.
Yeah, and the Tyranitar just able to Lash Out twice and take out the Gaugy. It was completely open to a Wormwind coming out from the Gaugy. Opting for the Max Lightning instead of a Wormwind, quite an interesting play. Able to still take the knockout on the Dusclops with the Max Lightning thanks to that Sandstorm. It would have been very close otherwise, but maybe not opting for a Wormwind. It would have dropped the attack of the Tyranitar, but it would have still doubled the power of the Lash Out if the Tyranitar ended up attacking, which it did, but the Nightshade chip was enough anyway. And now Lukas has taken out the Dynamax of Jonathan's side in that Gaugy, and now gets to go for his own.
Yep, I mean, it's a bold move to save it for late. You've got to have complete confidence in the Pokemon we're doing with the Gigantomax Venusaur will be his choice here, and it's in a good position right now. I'll be feeling pretty good staring down these two from Jonathan's side. So we'll see how much it can do. Urshifu playing it safe. There's the Protect. Not the Detect. I'm curious on that decision, but just not going to ruminate on that one too much. Pain Split though, very, very good to get something down onto this Venusaur. But the Rock Slide into the Protect of Urshifu, not a problem there. And it should do a little bit of damage to Dusclops, but I don't imagine it's going to threaten it too much.
This Vinash will be very threatening, even into the Protect of the Urshifu. It's still going to be setting up that ferocious beating with the vines, and still going to be doing a significant amount of damage to both of Jonathan's Pokemon. And there isn't the sun up, the sand did subside, but there's still no sun, which means the Venusaur should still be slower than this Urshifu in the Trick Room setting, and you can see how much damage that ferocious beating is doing to the Urshifu. But the Trick Room has subsided, so the Urshifu is most likely going to be the fastest Pokemon on the field now. Being able to threaten down, knockout onto that Tyranitar. If it goes for one of its fighting moves, thanks to the Unseen Fist, Tyranitar wouldn't be able to protect from that. Or it could choose to go on the offensive to this Venusaur, but instead wants to pick up the knockout on that Tyranitar.
Yeah, just decides to try and do as much as possible, get those knockouts and leave it in maybe a 2v1 situation for the rest of the game. Tyranitar fell very easily there. Of course, Urshifu has lost the defensive but the Urshifu, getting caught with the Fire Lash, not a chance. On being able to get through. Venusaur will lose a little bit of its HP, and Dusclops sets up Trick Room, so Dusclops is going to do this one on its own.
Yeah, it's got to deal with this Venusaur. The Vine Lash is still going to be doing a significant chunk to Dusclops. A very bulky Pokemon, but that doesn't matter if it's doing a percentage of your HP and is able to do a nice chunk with the Vine Lash. That does reduce the HP even further, so the Pain Split would be doing a bit more damage to the Venusaur. We'll have to see if it's enough to allow the Dusclops to be able to survive this final Vine Lash coming out from the Venusaur.
Well, it's not going to be the most high-octane endgame, Jamie, but we are going to have an endgame, and nonetheless, we're attempting to get through everything. The Dusclops super low again. Is going to start taking those beatings as well every single turn, and it's not going to be enough. Not enough health remaining there to take the G-Max Vine Lash beating between turns. And that levels up the set. We're at 1-1 between Jonathan and Lukas, and we should have a good game 3. I think the Venusaur did a lot more that game, and changes didn't always work out there for Jonathan.
Yeah, it looked like the Dragougi was in a brilliant position, being able to get its weakness policy off with the Bulldoze. No weakness policy on the Tyranitar, so it didn't take as much damage as it could have done. If it would have got that double power weakness policy to lash out, that would have been a huge amount of damage, but an interesting decision, not opting to target down the Tyranitar when it did have the opportunity to go for a Wormwind that turn, opting instead to knock out the Dusclops on Lukas' side of the field, maybe fearing a Protect and reversing the Trick Room play with the Dusclops on Lukas' side, which it would have even been able to successfully do. It was able to survive both the Lightning and the Pain Split as well. It would have been able to set up the Trick Room and then would have been KO'd to the Sandstorm. So that would have been an interesting interaction if that would come to fruition, but instead, the Tyranitar was able to knock out the Dragougi. If Jonathan's in the same position, if he goes for the same strategy, all he has to do is target down that Tyranitar with the Wormwind instead, and he would be in a very favourable position. There isn't too much that Lukas has to break through the Dragougi. Maybe the Goodra, but it doesn't look like he's opting to bring it. He didn't bring it into the previous games as well, so still able to take out the Dragougi with those very powerful lash outs as well. But yeah, if Jonathan just targets correctly with his Dragougi in this game, if he goes for that same strategy, it could be much more favourable for him.
Are you screaming internally a little bit, Jamie, watching this, thinking why are you not doing what we discussed as his manager? Is that
I'm trying to remain as impartial as possible, but yes, I'm lamenting that Lightning target instead of that Wormwind.
Well, you're doing great with it. We are going to head back to the Gyarados and Togekiss for game 1. Hey, you win with it, why not use it again? For me. With Togekiss and Dusclops, so yeah, we're getting a run back for game number 1, which did of course go Jonathan's way. But maybe, they're just thinking, I can play this one better than I did before.
Yeah, interesting going back to what ended up being the lead that ends up losing Lukas the game in the first game, but Jonathan switching back to the lead that he went with that did end up taking the victory for him. But now we know about the taunt on the Gyarados. It could just go, the Togekiss on Lucas's side could just be redirecting that taunt instead, but there's going to be no taunts coming out at all.
Yeah, we're now going to get Togekiss Dusclops. That's the Togekiss Dusclops. As Gyarados leaves the field in place of Dusclops on Jonathan's side. There's the old Frisk, no shots there. Dusclops helping hands, so it was avoiding a potential taunt. We could be having some nasty Trick Room areas, but they're not for now. With Togekiss Dazzling Gleams. Ooh, good damage on the Dusclops there. With a critical hit on both Pokemon. So that's a really powerful use of helping hands to try and get there.
Yeah, really showing how effective the critical hits can be.
Yeah, Togekiss playing it a little bit slower and a little bit more defensive on Jonathan's side. Just landing the yawn on the Togekiss, and the first thing that Lukas does in the beginning of his next turn is, I've got to switch that out.
Yeah, it's one of the nice things that Yawn can do. It can just force your opponent. You have to decide, do I make a move this turn but fall asleep? Or do I switch and just allow my opponent to do whatever they want to do?
Yeah, you've just got to play around it, and your opponent is given the opportunity to try and read into it and capitalize on that as much as possible. So there's the Tyranitar, there's the Sandstream. No shots there, and yeah, we're getting back to this. We've seen this before. Togekiss just yawning a slot over and over again, so it just becomes essentially useless. While it gets Pain Split as well for its troubles, so taking a good little chunk of damage there. But Dusclops over on Lucas' side will just be free to Trick Room, which could open up some interesting kind of end games, throughout this.
Yeah, we saw it in game 1. The Dusclops on Lucas' side was just very passive and not really threatening too much. And Jonathan's, with the Yawns, just pinning that slot is making the other slot either having to make use of one turn, but then will fall asleep, or just keep switching. So it's a really nice position for Jonathan. He can freely just always yawn that Tyranitar slot. And if the Tyranitar stays in, it will be able to take out the Togekiss, but it is opting to switch out. So if this is another yawn going into this Togekiss, then Lucas will have to decide once again if he wants to switch out.
Yep, there's the switch, no shocks there. A Nightshade for his troubles on the way in. It's going to take another 3 of those to get a knockout on Togekiss. Air Slash following it up, so no yawn. He's kind of broken that soft lock. As Dusclops reversing its own Trick Room. I'm not sure if he was trying to bait out a Trick Room from Jonathan, do that double Trick Room in a turn. But there it is, he's going to reverse it. He took a lot of damage on his Togekiss for his troubles. And we're back to normal.
Yeah, and we've both got both Pokemon on each side with the Togekiss and the Dusclops facing down each other. Both the Togekisses are below half HP. We've seen that a Helping Hand critical hit Dazzling Gleam would be able to take out the Togekiss. We are going to be seeing a Helping Hand, so are we going to be seeing a critical hit coming out?
Yep, there it is, the Helping Hand into Dazzling Gleam. A classic of VGC 2020 already. And we're just getting, looks like a pretty much run back at turn number 1 without the critical hits. Yawn back into that slot. And Jonathan now says, I'm going to Trick Room. So these Dusclops just trying to find the perfect opening. Maybe a Trick Room if something gets knocked out, so you can immediately capitalize on it the following turn. A little bit of damage from the Sandstorm, not too essential, but might help soften some things up. Doesn't bring anything in range of visible kind of Nightshade range just yet, but always something to trap there as well.
Yeah, the no critical hit coming out, letting that yawn go off from the Togekiss, but also setting up the Trick Room means that the Dusclops on Lucas' side will be moving before the Togekiss, and it is definitely in range of a Nightshade as well now. So looks like that would have been the final yawn coming out from Jonathan. Lucas just needs to switch out his Togekiss here, and then he won't have to deal with the yawns anymore as long as this Togekiss stays in and takes the Nightshade.
Yep, well there he goes, switching once again for Tyranitar, no shocks there. Dusclops on Jonathan's side, now shading. That's into the Dusclops on Lucas' side. Good amount of damage. Togekiss is allowed to yawn this turn, so we didn't see an attack from Lucas' Dusclops as he is just reversing the Trick Room once again. So Twisted Dimension's now back to normal. I know it's a lot to keep a track of, but we've got to do our best when we've got 2 Dusclops on the field.
Yeah, an interesting choice not to take out the Togekiss there, and Jonathan still has the yawn knockup. Even something like the Sandstorm can't chip away at this Togekiss because we did see the safety goggles on it. So a really nice item choice, keeping this Togekiss on the field, and a very interesting decision not to take the knockout with the Nightshade on the Togekiss, instead reversing the Trick Room once again. And once again, the Tyranitar needs to switch out if it doesn't want to fall asleep. So it's been quite a passive few turns. The Dusclops and the Togekiss on Jonathan's side are very heavily damaged, and it looks like he'll finally be losing the Togekiss this turn.
Yeah, he's made it the centre of attention with the Follow Me. Tyranitar's rock slide obviously hits both, but will pick up a knockout there on Focus and do a good chunk of damage to that Dusclops over on Jonathan's side. They don't have the biggest HP pool ever. Dusclops will follow up with a Nightshade from Lucas's side, but it's going to get it. Yeah, just wasn't sure if he had 1 or 2 health remaining there. And the Sandstorm subsides, so Lucas really working through those early passive turns does come at the cost of his Tyranitar finally falling asleep. But he's in a Pokemon advantage now, so that definitely helps out.
Yeah, it does. But this Dusclops is very low, and we have seen Taunt on the Gyarados as well, and there is going to be that Dragalge waiting in the back. Be an interesting decision on which Pokemon Jonathan wants to Dynamax here. If the Gyarados wants to start going for some Airstreams, try and get the Dragalge faster than Lucas' side that way, because the Trick Room from Jonathan's side is no longer an option. But at the same time, he still wants to be going for those Max Oozes to increase the damage output from the Dragalge as well. And if you Dynamax the Gyarados, you have to be going for Draco Meteors if you want to be going with the Dragon-type moves. The Sludge Bomb wouldn't be very effective here against the Tyranitar or the Dusclops. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which Pokemon Jonathan's decided to Dynamax here.
Yeah, I think he's got options, and he needs to do something now. He's down, Pokemon count is down to his last 2. It will be the Gyarados getting Dynamax, which I quite like. I think that's a good adaptation, and it's certainly going to help out. Could start changing things up and applying a good amount of pressure. I think Dragalge, without his kind of own ability to control Trick Room, could become a bit of a problem. Without Trick Room in play, it's time for Max Airstream. One way to get control of the speed. Max Airstream into the Dusclops will help out with Dragalge's speed along with the Gyarados. So not enough for a knockout there. Tyranitar remains fast asleep, which means Dragalge is just going to be free to kind of follow up. No issues there. No threat of Trick Room, which means that Airstream is going to be a lot more valuable as Sludge Bomb cleans up over on the Dusclops.
Yeah, really nice, putting a stop to that Trick Room. So it looks like Jonathan will be going for the Airstream strategy to try and boost up the speed of his Dragalge. The Gyarados now will be faster than all of Lucas's Pokemon, and now that Trick Room's gone, it will be able to outspeed first. And yeah, the Togekiss is still looking very low. The Gyarados would be able to take it out with a max move as well. The Tyranitar is threatened by the Geyser coming out from the Gyarados, but if the Togekiss wants to redirect that, it will be KOing itself because it is so low as well. And yeah, this is looking quite nice for Jonathan. Lucas still does have access to his Dynamax, probably going to be saving it for the last Pokemon in the back, probably going to be that Venusaur, like we've seen in the previous games. But now the Gyarados has been able to get a speed boost with the Airstream. There's no Torkoal on Lucas' side if he has brought that Venusaur, so there won't be any Sun to boost the speed of the Venusaur, so Gyarados will be able to go first and threaten down the Venusaur with an Airstream. But yeah, he's going to be able to threaten down both the Togekiss and the Tyranitar here, but no Dynamax for the Pokemon in the back of Lucas. He's going to be Dynamaxing a Pokemon this turn.
Yeah, we know the Venusaur isn't going to be able to Dynamax or Gigantamax now, as Tyranitar has been sleeping, wants to try and stick around as long as possible though, so it's going to Dynamax and just try its best to stall out this game for Lucas. A number of big attacks available from Jonathan's side, and Togekiss has to be careful of those. Gyarados though, free to Max Geyser, taking complete control of the weather. Max Geyser into the Tyranitar. Doesn't have a boost from the sand right now. He's not got that set up. It's already kind of timed out. And that's going to be rain. That's going to be making things nice and easy. Tyranitar does wake up though. Does Max Rockfall in return, so it gets control of the weather immediately in response, and also, if it's troubles, gets to do huge damage. So that's going to be a lot onto the Gyarados. Not enough for a knockout, but a really timely wake up there from the Tyranitar, knowing he needed to Dynamax and be able to kind of take that hit before getting knocked out.
Yeah, it's a very risky play Dynamaxing the Tyranitar. It was still asleep, so being able to wake up there was quite fortunate for Lucas, able to get a huge amount of damage into that Gyarados. If the Tyranitar would have stayed asleep there, I think it would have been looking very comfortable for Jonathan. But now it is a little bit awkward. The Tyranitar probably out of Airstream range, and you would need to go for an Airstream if you want to try and put that Dragalge faster than the Togekiss. One Airstream boost is probably not enough, and it would be very close if 2 would be able to do it as well. But yeah, the Togekiss, yeah, is going to be threatened by the Gyarados quite heavily as well.
Yeah, the problem is, I think, for Jonathan, is he just wants to fire off another Max Geyser here, but he needs to be careful to follow me. The Gyarados using its last turn of Dynamax to just play it safe, play it so safe, and decide to max guard. Tokus becomes the center of attention. Max Rockfall, though, not heading towards that Gyarados in his max guard, heading right towards that Dragalge. Good amount of damage there, just bringing it under half as Dragalge does manage to get a good read there onto the Togekiss and land that Sludge Bomb. So Togekiss knocked out. We're now down to our final 2 for both trainers, but Gyarados and Dragalge have taken a lot of damage. They've only got 1 speed boost from the max airstream. It is important, it should be enough, but most importantly, he got rid of the threat of redirection. That said, Lukas does have a full health Venusaur in play.
Yeah, great play coming out from Lukas there. Reading the max guard very well, getting a huge amount of damage onto the Dragalge. Jonathan did have the option to take out the Togekiss with the Gyarados and could have potentially fired off a Draco Meteor into the Tyranitar, which would have almost certainly been enough. Sludge Bomb probably wouldn't have been, but then you'd have still had the poison chance as well. And now this is a very interesting endgame. Gyarados has lost its Dynamax, so would need to go for a bounce if it wants to hit the Venusaur super effectively. We've seen the Earth Power come out from the Venusaur as well as the Sleep Powder, so we know it won't be having access to that Protect here. But Tyranitar does, is going to be going for that Max Guard.
Yeah, Tyranitar, Max Guard. Dragalge protects, so it's all on the Gyarados and Venusaur, and Gyarados does bounce. So you called it right there, it does have to carry that move to get access to the Max Airstream. Something Gyarados has been adding in for a little while now, as Leaf Storm will, of course, miss, as Gyarados is up in the air, ready to bounce down onto this Venusaur, and you know, many Venusaur not carrying Protect as well, so certainly not the easiest one to try and block. You know, we know that Venusaur's so desperate for so many moves. We've seen Sleep Powder, we've seen a Grass type attack. You don't take it that Poison type attack, and he revealed the Earth Power earlier as he tried to max Quake. So Jonathan, if he's been tracking the set, knows that this Gyarados is going to land the bounce on the Venusaur. And Venusaur avoids! Oh, not what you want to see.
Yeah, not what you want to see at all. That would have easily taken the knockout on the Venusaur, and now it's free to take the knockout on the Dragalge, and now Tyranitar just has to hit 1 Rock Slide as opposed to 2, and it is able to connect and win Lukas the set, unfortunately.
My word, Jamie, I'm sorry you had to watch that. Bounce was the perfect play, and if it had landed, if it had got the knockout, you know, Dragalge would have been there trying to deal with that Tyranitar, but it just wasn't to be, as Bounce does miss in this occasion. It's not the perfect move. Max Airstream might be the perfect flying type move. You know, you got some good options. Bounce is cool. I think it gives you style points, but not exactly what was needed right there.
Yeah, it's very awkward for Gyarados that is the only physical flying move that it has access to. And yeah, comes with the downsides of having to take a turn to attack as well as also having the chance to miss. Very unfortunate miss there. Yeah,
No.
yeah. Like he